Good afternoon. This is Kathleen Drew, Chair of the Energy Facility Site Evaluation Council, calling our August meeting to order. Ms. Grantham, will you call the roll?
Certainly. Department of Commerce, Department of Ecology, Department of Fish and Wildlife,
Mike Livingston, present.
Department of Natural Resources,
Lenny Young, present.
Utilities and Transportation Commission.
Stacy Brewster, present.
For local government and optional state agencies for the Horse Heaven Project, Department of Agriculture. Benton County, Ed Brost. For the Badger Mountain Project for Douglas County, Jordan Julio.
Jordan Julio, Douglas County, present.
For the Watoma Solar Project for Benton County, Dave Sharp. For the Department of Transportation, Paul Gonseth. For the Hop Hill Solar Project for Benton County, Paul Crouppen. For the Carriger Solar for Klickitat County, Matt Childs.
Matt Childs, present.
Assistant Attorney Generals, John Thompson.
Present.
Jenna Slocum.
Present.
Administrative Law Judges, Adam Torum.
I'm here.
Laura Bradley. Dan Gerard. Joni Deerfield. For council staff, Sonia Bumpus.
Sonia Bumpus, present.
Amy Hofgemeyer.
Present.
Amy Moon.
Amy Moon, present.
Stu Henderson.
Stu Henderson here.
Joan Owens.
Present.
Dave Walker.
Present.
Sonia Scavland.
Present.
Lisa Massengale. Sarah Randolph.
Present.
Sean Green.
Present.
Lance Caputo. John Barnes.
Present.
Osta Davis. Joanne Snarsky.
Present.
Alex Shiley.
The computers and the railroad.
Oh, yeah.
Allie Smith.
Please
Allie
mute your
Smith, present.
microphone.
And we are hearing some feedback. If you can please mute your microphone if you're not called on. Carl Holapa.
Carl Holpa, present.
For the operational updates for Kittitas Valley Wind Project.
Eric Melbardis, present.
Wild Horse Wind Power Project.
Jennifer Galbraith, present.
Grays Harbor Energy Center.
Chris Sharon, present.
Chehalis Generation Facility.
Jeremy Smith, present.
Columbia Generating Station. Columbia Solar. Goose Prairie Solar. And do we have someone present for the Council for the Environment? Chair, there is a quorum for the regular council and for Badger Mountain and Carriger Solar councils. Thank you.
I did also see that Mr. Eli Levitt from the Department of Ecology is present. Although I think he missed the roll call by a few seconds.
That is probably correct. Just want to confirm, is Eli Levitt there?
Yes,
for the- Thank you.
Okay. We will begin with a motion to adopt our proposed agenda. Is there a motion?
Lenny Young, so moved.
Second?
Mike
Stacy
Livingston,
Brewster, second.
Stacy Brewster. Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The agenda is adopted. Moving on to our meeting minutes. The first that we'll take up is the July 13th, 2023 Desert Claim SCA Amendment Information Meeting Minutes. I have a few corrections. On page 18, line 16, the word iron should be changed to wild. Page 20. And this is line 16 to 18. Can you make that a little bit bigger when you find it, Ms. Grantham? Oh, I can see it over here. There should be a period after department. Let me see, 16 to 18. Wait. Page 20. We're looking at page 20, not 8. We're on 8. Oh, that is page 20? Okay. Okay, let me look through my notes here. Line 16 to 18. Add a period after department. Oh, yes. So after the military department, a period. And then we start the next sentence with, for the review of an application amendment. Apparently my notes aren't very good here. Yes, it's a period after military department. For the review of an application amendment, this is not part of the process. So there's no period after amendment. That's a continuation of a sentence. And this is important. So that next sentence would read, starting with for the review of an application amendment, this is not a part of the process. Period. The Standing Council oversees those requests. Okay. And then on page 21, line 15, add the word go after the word will. Will go through. That's all. Are there any other proposed changes to these amendments, corrections? Hearing none, all those in, is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Stacy Brewster, motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Thank you. Second?
Lenny Young, second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The minutes are amended. Now moving on to the July 19th, 2023 monthly meeting minutes. I have no changes or corrections. Is there anyone who has changes or corrections to? Well, let's bring it up in front of us then. Is there a motion to approve the July 19th monthly meeting minutes?
Matt Childs, so moved.
Thank you. Second?
Mike Livingston, second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The meeting minutes are approved. Okay, moving on to the Kittitas Valley Wind Project operational update. Mr. Milbardis?
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, FSEC Council and staff. For the record, this is Eric Malbardis. with EDP Renewables, representing the Kittitas Valley Wind Power Project. We had nothing non-routine to report for the period.
Thank you. Wild Horse Wind Power Project, Ms. Galbraith.
Yes, thank you, Chair Drew, council members and staff. This is Jennifer Galbraith representing Puget Sound Energy for the Wild Horse Wind Facility. And I also have no non-routine updates for the month of July. Thank you.
Thank you. Chehalis Generation Facility, Mr. Smith.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council members and staff. This is Jeremy Smith, the maintenance manager representing the Chehalis Generation Facility. I have no non-routine items to note for the month of July.
Thank you. Grays Harbor Energy Center, Mr. Sharon.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council member, staff. This is Chris Sharon, the plant manager from Grays Harbor Energy Center, and I'm also joining the no non-routine items party for the month of July.
Thank you. Quiet month. Moving on to Columbia Solar.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, council members and staff. For the record, this is Sarah Randolph, site specialist for Columbia Solar. The facility update is provided in your packet. There were no non-routine updates to report. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the Columbia Solar. Oh, no, we just did the Columbia Solar, Columbia Generating Station.
Good afternoon, Chair Drew, FSEC council members and staff. For the record, this is Felicia Nahara Paxton with Energy Northwest. I have only one item to report for Columbia Generating Station, and that was that on July 13th, the Washington State Patrol Fire Protection Bureau completed a fire alarm acceptance inspection at CGS buildings, the 76, 77, 78, and 79, and 80. Those are our warehouse buildings, and no violations were noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goose Prairie Solar project update.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Cody Burchell with Brookfield. Project is currently on schedule. Right now, the laydown yards are under construction. The substation grading and foundations are under construction as well. And frequent monitoring is occurring through WSP. Those are occurring weekly on behalf of FSEC.
And WSP is the on-site
Yeah, that's our environmental consultant.
Environmental consultant. Thank you. I always think that sounds like Washington State Patrol to me, so I always have to take a second look at it.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
they're definitely not on site every week.
Thank you. Moving on to High Top and Austria, Ms. Randolph.
Chair Drew, council members and staff. For the record, this is Sarah Randolph, site specialist for High Top and Austria. FSEC staff are coordinating with the certificate holder on pre-construction plans and schedules. Any questions?
Thank you. Moving on to Whistling Ridge, Mr. Caputo.
Chair Drew, if I may, Mr. Caputo is out today, so this is Amy Hofkemeyer providing the Whistling Ridge update.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Hofkemeyer.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Drew and council members. FSEC staff recently met with the representatives from the Whistling Ridge Energy Facility to discuss their requests for amending the site certification agreement. The certificate holders are making minor revisions to their requests for clarity and will submit them after the council concludes its adjudication hearings on the Hearst Heaven project. Staff are also working on finalizing the details of the public informational meeting, and those will be made available to the council and the public when they are available. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions for Ms. Hofkemeyer? Thank you. Desert Claim Project Update, Ms. Moon.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Drew and council members. For the record, this is Amy Moon providing a project update on Desert Claim. In July, the Desert Claim Site Certificate holder, EDF Renewables, presented their proposed amendment to the Site Certification Agreement, or SCA, at a public informational meeting. The request is to extend the substantial completion date from November 13th of 2023 to November 13th of 2028. The FSEC Assistant Attorney General's Office is preparing a legal brief for the Council's consideration regarding the extension request. FSEC staff anticipate the legal brief will be issued for your review ahead of the September Council meeting. I have no other updates on Desert Claim at this time. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay. Horse Heaven Wind Farm Project Updates, Ms. Moon.
Again, this is Amy Moon. For the record, I'm providing an update on the Horse Heaven Wind project. FSEC staff continued working on the preparation of the final environmental impact statement, or final EIS, by incorporating public comments and responses received on the draft EIS. This effort includes working with Washington State agency subject matter experts on remaining impact analysis and recommended mitigation opportunities to incorporate it into the final environmental impact statement. Staff have been working hard reviewing the updated affected environment and analysis of potential impact sections prepared by our consultant, also WSP. The updates reflect public comments, agency input, and current information. Does the council have any questions?
Does the council, do council members have any questions for Ms. Moon on the project update? Thank you. I also want to note that we are in the midst of an adjudication just started this week, and I know some council members would like some additional training on our SharePoint site in finding the documents for the daily work that we are doing. So you have received, council members, a invitation to a training for after this meeting. So just heads up on that. Moving on to Badger Mountain project update, Ms. Snarsky.
Thank you, Chair Drew, and good afternoon, council members. For the record, this is Joanne Snarsky, the siting specialist for Badger Mountain. Progress continues to be made on the development of the draft environmental impact statement. Staff are also continuing to coordinate external review with our contracted agency partners on the natural resources chapters of the environmental impact statement. This currently includes ecology, fish and wildlife, and the Department of Natural Resources. Staff are also working with the Department of Archaeological and Historic Preservation, Department of Natural Resources, the Yakima Nation technical staff, and Colville Confederated Tribe technical staff on review of the revised draft of the Cultural Resources Survey report. Along with those parties and the applicant, we are working to identify next steps and a schedule for those actions in support of the application review. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Snarsky? Thank you. Watoma Solar project update. I assume that would be Ms. Hofgemeyer.
Yes, thank you, Chair Drew. Again, this is Amy Hofgemeyer for the record. The applicants for the Watoma Solar Energy Project are preparing the final report for the additional field survey work requested by FSEC and the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation. I have no further updates at this time. Are there any questions?
Questions? Thank you. Hop Hill Solar Project, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, Chair Drew and council members. For the record, this is John Barnes, FSEC staff, for the Hop Hill application update for July. On August 14th, we received the applicant's response to data request number 2. As mentioned during last month's council meeting, the applicant, Bright Knight, has changed their application project manager. His name is Kevin Martin, and he is here today. Kevin, can you please turn on your camera and introduce yourself to the council? I guess Kevin did not make it today. So we will move on. I have no further comments, council members and Chair Drew. We are continuing our coordinated review application with our contractor and contracted agencies, along with tribal governments, and no other updates to report on. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now for Carriger Solar project update, Ms. Snarsky.
Thank you again, Chair Drew. For the record, this is Joanne Snarsky, the siting specialist for Carriger Solar. As you know, for the past 6 months, we have been reviewing the Carriger Solar application for site certification in pursuit of making a State Environmental Policy Act threshold determination as required by Washington Administrative Codes 197-11-330 and 463-47. As you will recall, the extension for the expedited processing was granted by the council at the special meeting held on June 9th, 2023. That extension request was granted through August 17th, 2023, which is tomorrow. In accordance with the revised Code of Washington, 80.50.090 sub 3 sub A, on August 11th, 2023, the FSEC director notified the applicant of the intent to issue a determination of significance under RCW, Revised Code of Washington, 43.21C. Also, in accordance with Revised Code of Washington, 80.50.090 sub 3 sub A, the applicant is allowed to provide clarification or make changes to the proposal to mitigate the anticipated environmental impacts. To that end, in your council packet, you will find a letter from the applicant requesting the council take no action on the matter of their application request for expedited processing while they develop their response to our notice and an additional extension request. Are there any questions?
Council member, are there any questions at this point? We had planned for, should the SEPA determination have come forward as mitigated determination of non-significance, that there may be an action on expedited processing. But given the information you heard from Ms. Snarsky about the initial decision that now Carriger gets to respond to, we do not have that action in front of us for expedited processing. Are there any questions about that? Mr. Livingston.
Thanks, Chair Drew. Can somebody explain to me, so in this circumstance with the SEPA determination, the request for an extension coming to us, what's the process going forward, just so that we can anticipate this? And maybe Ms. Bumpus can help me understand just what to anticipate over the next, 60 days or whatever. Thank you.
You're muted.
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Livingston. So what we anticipate, given the correspondence we recently received from Cypress Creek Renewables, we are going to be talking with them over the phone about their plans to address the impacts that were identified, and trying to get a better understanding of what their their plan will be moving forward. My understanding is that they plan to do some additional work to address some of the I guess you could say gaps in information. And also they are planning to submit another extension request to the council once, I believe, once they've got a better idea of how long that effort's going to take. So I don't know when we will get the extension request, but I think that would be something forthcoming in the next couple of weeks once we've had a chance to talk with them about what the scope of work is going to be as they work to address the impacts identified in the DS.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other
This
questions?
is Matt Childs. I have a question. Matt
Sure.
Childs from
Go ahead.
Klickitat County for the record. If it can just be clarified, the applicant is still requesting expedited process, but they want that decision delayed for another 120 days. Is that correct? Or is expedited process no longer being requested?
Chair Drew, may I respond?
Yes.
They are intending on still requesting expedited processing, so that request still stands. They are anticipating submitting a request for an extension to allow them more time to do some additional work. And then at that point, we would be making a decision, the council would be making a decision about expedited process before that next extension, assuming that the council grants it.
So I'll add something in here, and that is, provided that the additional work or change in application or whatever comes back to us and actually back to Ms. Bumpus results in a mitigated determination of non-significance, but that has not yet, that's not a foregone conclusion. Does that help, Mr. Childs?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Mr. Young.
Question for Ms. Bumpus. Are you able to share the reasons leading to the anticipated determination of significance?
Well, basically, I think that namely, there was some additional work identified to address cultural resource impacts. That is definitely one of the major concerns, and the other is I think some impacts related to visual. Without going into detail.
Ms. Hofkemeyer had her hand raised. Ms. Hofkemeyer?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say what Director Bumpus said, so I don't have anything else to say now.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Okay.
Childs from Klickitat County here again, and I
Yes.
have one other question. With this extension, would there be an opportunity for council members such as myself to express concerns that Carringer could potentially address in what they're talking about doing?
When the extension request comes before the council, yes. In terms of the SEPA determination, that's determined by our SEPA official, Ms. Bumpus.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So with that, we will move on then to the proposed land use order. That the draft has been noticed and available for comments. Are we going to have a briefing on the land use order? Ms. Snarsky.
I have some information to begin perhaps the discussion on that.
Thank you.
As you recall, or I should say, this is Joanne Snarsky, Carriger Sighting Specialist for the record. As you recall, at the June council meeting, staff were directed to develop a draft order on land use consistency for council consideration. You will find that draft order in your packet, along with a figure of the proposed facility with zoning and the EOZ, which is the energy overlay zone, overlying that area. Also included in your personal packets are a write-up prepared by Council Member Childs discussing his concerns mentioned at the June council meeting, as well as 2 attorney-client privileged legal briefs. One of those briefs regards the draft order and the other reflecting guidance in response to Council Member Childs' land use consistency concerns. It's dated July 13th, 2023. The draft land use order was open for public comment from August 7th through close of business on August 11th. Staff received 14 comment submissions from members of the public. Most comments did not prompt any revisions to the draft order. One commenter, Dana Peck, requested that the order be edited to reflect their comment as in support of the project rather than as against the project. This language is in item 8 on page 2. Additionally, the findings of fact, item 2 on page 11, within the draft order speak to the council making a decision on the expedited process request during today's council meeting. In light of the project updates given a few moments ago, staff would like to propose revising this statement to reflect that action is not being taken on the expedited process request today. At this time, staff requests your consideration of the draft order and recommend the order be approved by the council with the suggested revisions. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the council?
This is Matt Childs. I have some comments, but perhaps the time for those is after the motion has been seconded.
Okay. Yes. And I'd also like to ask Ms. Grantham. I found myself with the different overlay zones to want to have a picture, and that also was in your packet, and I asked her to display it here just for further clarification for council members should we need that. I want to first ask council members if you have questions about the action that is the land use order for either our legal staff or our project staff. Mr. Young.
Does the anticipated determination of significance that's been communicated to the applicant have any bearing whatsoever on the land use consistency determination?
No.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions for staff? There's been a substantial amount of material to review in association with this, so let's go ahead and have a motion before the council to approve the land use consistency order, granting a finding of land use consistency. Is there a motion?
Lenny Young, so moved.
Thank you. Second?
Stacy Brewster, second.
Thank you. Okay, let's have discussion now. Mr. Childs.
Thank you, Chair Drew. My chief concern is with the moratorium that Klickitat County has put in place earlier in the year before the application was submitted. it continues to be my belief that a moratorium has essentially the same regulatory course and thus is essentially the same as a zoning ordinance in that in this case, it is denying solar to the area, at least part of the area under question. And I know that the council in the past has chosen to ignore moratoriums in the case of Kittitas County, to be specific. But I believe that is a bad precedent to rely on. As we saw in the brief from the second brief from the Attorney General's office, they believe that ignoring the moratorium would expose FSEC to a more likelihood of its decision being overturned in the future. I think it would be better for all parties concerned if FSEC starts a new precedent and recognizes that a moratorium is in fact a zoning ordinance, a short-term zoning ordinance. It is the only type of ordinance that is available for a county to work with in an emergency situation when emergency zoning need to be made. Klickitat County in particular has a record of using moratoriums in the past. A specific example is when Washington legalized cannabis use, and the county enacted a moratorium on cannabis retail and processing and growing facilities until such time that they could be properly incorporated into the code. That was done, the moratorium was lifted, and this moratorium on industrial sized solar is a similar sort of situation. It has the force of law just on a temporary basis. So it is my belief that we should not find Terriger consistent because of the moratorium, which is in fact a local Klickitat County law, even though a short-term law for a specified period of time. Thank you, Chair Drew.
Thank you. I do have to say, I appreciate your comments, but I don't believe that what the council proposes to do is ignore the moratorium. It was not written to affect the council or the work that we do. It was written to affect only applications coming to the county. And that is the same type of moratorium that was written in Kittitas County. Other counties have written short-term or temporary land use zoning ordinances, which can be treated differently. I did not read, as you did, that our council recommended against us or recommended that we take up the moratorium in our findings. So I would have to ask for perhaps Mr. Thompson to comment on that.
Yeah, Chair Drew, I mean, I think our advice is that just address the question of whether a moratorium can fit within the definition within RCW 8050 of a zoning ordinance. And while there's certainly room for interpretation there, and there are arguments to be made on both sides, we think that you have the discretion to conclude that a moratorium does not fall within that definition, and so can't be the basis of a finding of inconsistency.
Thank you.
Does that address your question?
Yes.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Thompson and Chair Drew. Yeah, I stand by my point that the moratorium is a local zoning law, and I appreciate your guys' input on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments from council members? Okay. Hearing none, I would like to, I guess, ask for a motion to amend based on the staff's recommendation that we correct the references to expedited processing. In fact, remove the references to expedited processing in the order, that we correct on page 2, paragraph 8, that Dana Peck's comments were in favor of the project, not in favor of land use consistency, not opposed. And that on page 11, that we strike finding of fact number 2 that includes the expedited processing procedure. Mr. Thompson, did you have a comment?
No, sorry, I should have muted my my mic. No comment.
Okay. I see blinking lights. So that would be my proposed. So can we have an amendment of to the order, council members?
Lenny Young, I propose that the council approves the order as amended as you described, Chair Drew.
Thank you. So, okay, we have a motion up, and then this would be voting to amend the order. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed? Okay. All those opposed to the amendment? Okay, the order is amended. And now for the final action on the order.
Chair Drew, can I request a roll call vote on this?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That was Matt
Well-
Childs for the record.
Yes, Mr. Childs, thank you. So let's take a roll call vote on the order granting a finding of land use consistency. Ms. Grantham, will you call the roll?
Yes. Chair Drew,
Aye.
Department of Commerce, Elizabeth Osborne. Department of Ecology, Eli Levitt.
Aye.
Department of Fish and Wildlife, Mike Livingston.
Aye.
Department of Natural Resources, Lenny Young.
Aye.
Utilities and Transportation Commission, Stacy Brewster.
Aye.
And Carriage Solar, Clickitat County, Matt Childs.
No.
Thank you. The order is adopted. Okay, I think that concludes our business before the council today. Oh.
Chair Drew, this
Yes.
is Lenny Young. Could I do a quick go back, a single question for Ms. Nahara Paxton?
Yes. If she's
My
still on.
question,
Let's see if she's still on.
okay.
I'm still here.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Young.
My question is simply, has that matter involving the inadvertent release of lubricating oil been completely resolved? Is that all in the past now?
I believe so. We did actually send a letter out with more information to FSEC. I'm not sure. I would have to check on the status, but I believe it has been resolved. Do you mind if I get back with you on the next council meeting?
Yep, that's just fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, thank you, council members. This meeting is adjourned.